Oh, hello, YouTube. Today on the Naughty Librarian, we are doing a good old-fashioned book haul. Oh, it has been a minute since I've done bookish content that wasn't Interview with the Vampire related, so I figured let's get back to it. It's been a couple months of me only doing episode recaps, but in that time period, I have collected like so many new books. It's a problem at this point how many new books I have sitting around. So let's just get into all the stuff I got and we'll go from there. So I think the best way to go about this is that I've separated it into 3 categories, which is books from the publisher, books I bought / pre-ordered, and then books I bought / pre-ordered that I have already read. So perhaps this video might be a bit late. But you know what? We're all out here just doing our best. Category 1, books from the publisher. Let's get them out of the way first. So I have Romancing Miss Stone by M.C. Vaughn. This was sent to me by Harlequin, and this looks so good. It's very kind of like Lost City, Romancing the Stone, those type of things. And in it, we have this guy who's very kind of buttoned up and uptight, and his archaeologist fiance dumps him. And he's like, well, I gotta go get her back. So he goes to, the jungles of Belize, and he needs a tour guide. And it just so happens to be this incredibly hot woman who pushes all of his buttons. You can see where this is going, right? I think there's gonna be a lot of, oh no, there's only one tent situations and like just sexual tension. I think it's gonna be very zany and funny. So I am excited to read this one. Thank you very much, Harlequin, for sending it to me. And next up, I have not 1, not 2, but 3 copies of When Among Crows by Veronica Roth. Honestly, I don't think I requested it, and they sent it to me 3 different times. I guess they just really want me to read this. So thank you, Tor. Please stop sending them to me. So When Among Crows is kind of, I think it might be modern day, but retelling of like Slavic folklore. And in particular, I think it takes place in Chicago, like the magical underworld of Chicago. And there's a guy who needs to like slay demons and monsters, and then I think there's a monster girl who's like, I don't like being a monster, and he's like, hey, I'll like get rid of that monster problem you have if you help me like go kill this other bad guy. And she's like, cool, and then they team up. And it's very short. This is a novella, so I don't expect tons to happen in here. Like, it is 166 pages. So I feel like, I don't know, I'm getting Last Witch Hunter vibes from this. I don't know if that's what they're going for, but that's what it feels like. And I have 3 copies, so we'll find out. Sent to me by Epic Reads was Beneath the Cursed Stars by Lexi Ryan. I think this is YA, even though that guy on the cover is not a teenager. He had a full beard. Not that some teenagers can't grow beards, but that is a 35-year-old, 17-year-old if I ever saw one. It's a romantasy, which is like the big trend right now in like romance. You want fantasy romance, which I am beginning to realize I don't enjoy. Like, I like fantasy and I like romance in fantasy, but I don't like a romantasy for the most part. I don't know. I keep trying all these romantasies and I get very bored with them. Is it just me? But this one is kind of like by the book romantasy. It's a human princess armed with death's kiss, so I guess she's got poison kisses or something, and a fae shifter on the run, and they become unlikely allies because they have to go assassinate an evil king. And then there's also a prophecy, because obviously there's always a prophecy. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of paint by numbers romantasy, but I'll try it out at least. Thank you for sending it to me. It's worth a whirl, so I'll give it a good shot. Who knows, maybe it's gonna be really fun. Oh my god, this next book. Oh my god, this next book. Tor reached out and they're like, hey, we have finished copies. Do you want one? And I'm like, heck yeah, I want one. I friggin' love Jen Lyons. Like, it's probably not in frame, but I have all of her books like on this shelf. She wrote like the Chorus of Dragons series. It starts off with The Ruin of Kings. If you haven't read that series, it's all out so you can binge it. It is chef's kiss. It is incredible. So when I saw that she's coming out in the new series, I had already pre-ordered this, and then Tor's like, do you want a free one? And I'm like, yeah, I do. And I still have my pre-order because it wouldn't let me cancel. So I'm gonna have 2. Maybe I'll do another giveaway. I don't know. And frankly, I didn't even check the plot of this book. This was an auto buy for me because I've already read 5 books by Jen Lyons and adored all of them. So I'm like, there's a fair chance I'm gonna adore whatever she does. And guess what? There's dragons in it. Like, it's just like piling on top of my yes column. So Jen Lyons, fantasy, complex characters, dragons, there's probably, you know, assassination plots, so it's a little stabby. It just got all of the parts of things that I really enjoy, and I really like Jen Lyons as an author. And let's just see what it's about. Okay, so more things to add to my yes pile. A cunning group of misfits and kidnappings, dragon riders, trying to plan a big heist. Like, seriously, this is made of book catnip for me. This is all things I like. Heists, misfits, dragons, everything about this. I'm obsessed with this. So thank you so much, Tor, for sending me this. Like, this is going to get read like yesterday. I'm obsessed. And also, I got a big old box from the publisher. First, we got some like little star tissue paper. Ooh, there's a whole bunch of stuff in here. Okay, so first things first, I got this cool little bookmark. It has 2 sides on it. And also, they gave me a tote bag. Oh, this is cool. It has like constellations on it and stuff. So that's like a cool little tote bag. So that's nice. I never get like the fun PR packages. I only just get the book. So when I get a PR package, I get very excited about it. Another one, Tor, you're knocking it out of the park. This is also made of book catnip. All of my yeses here. Group of misfits. Evil corporations that they have to defeat. In space. Quirky characters, and overall it seems like it's going to be sarcastically funny, which I also very much enjoy. But it also really reminds me of the Salvager series by Alex White. The first book in that one is A Big Ship at the Edge of the Universe. I think it's going to be that vibe, and that trilogy of books by Alex White is like, that's right there on my shelf. Like, these are all my favorite books, and they're just sending me things like it. So I'm having a great time. So thank you so much, Tor. And like my little goodies, like, oh my goodness, I'm so happy. Okay, so those are all the books from the publishers. These are all books that I just like bought and or pre-ordered. So I got a copy of Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez, and this was the book of the year for 2023. So this one is kind of sassy doctors and bad first impressions. So you have guy meets girl, girl hates guy. She's like, ew, you're gross, you're ruining my life. And then he's like, well, I didn't mean to ruin your life, sorry. So he writes her a letter and he's like, hey, I'm funny and adorable. And she's like, oh no, you're funny and adorable, I like you now. So she writes him letters back, and then they kind of form this pen pal relationship, even though they work together. So I don't know, they're sending letters to each other anyways. And it has all these like zany, quirky rom-com things that I'm like way into, and it did win book of the year, so I am excited to try this one out. I don't think it's a book I would have picked up normally because I don't know, it just doesn't seem like a book I would like. But you know what, it won book of the year. I'm gonna give it a whirl and see how I like it. I also got a copy of The Blood Trials by N.E. Davenport, and I got to meet this author at the LA Times Festival of Books. I got like a little piece of art and I was like, ooh, this book gets steamy. And I mean, everyone's got their clothes on in the picture, it's fine to show, but like it's a little spicy. And honestly, I wanted to read this because I know my friend Bethany, Beautifully Bookish Bethany here on BookTube, loved it. So it was already on my radar, and I was like, okay, Bethany loves it, I'm probably gonna love it. And also I've heard that it's been compared to Red Rising, and I love that series, so already 2 in my yes column, so it was worth it. And then the third item in my yes column to make me want this, the author was available and I got to meet them, and she was just adorable. So yes, Blood Trials, it's sci-fi, fantasy, stabby, all kind of stuff that I really, really like. So I am excited for this one. I mean, I don't even know what it's about. I didn't even check. I just knew that he liked it, and I was like, I probably will too. Okay, so there's this woman, right? Her name is Akenna, and her grandpa gets murdered, and she like really loved her grandpa, and she's like, okay, so I know someone in power had to have ordered it, and then like a Praetorian guard had to have done it. So I'm gonna go kill some motherfuckers. I'm out for revenge. And I was like, yes, okay. So just more things in my yes column. It's stabby, it's revenge, it's a cool ass female character. Love this. Yes, this is a big yes column for me. I'm excited I have it. I also got a copy of Margot's Got Money Troubles by Rufi Thorpe. And mainly because I felt it was going to be very millennial Gen Z skewed humor. And like, as a millennial, I was like, yes, tell me more. I'll just read you like the first like little bold part here. It says, a bold, laugh out loud funny and heartwarming story about one young woman's attempt to navigate adulthood. Okay, one more sentence actually, because this perfectly encapsulates why I thought this was going to be cool. As the child of a Hooters waitress and an ex-pro wrestler, Margot Millet's always known that she'd have to make it on her own. Yes, so there's a lot of things going on here. Messy female character. It's a book that I hadn't heard of and probably wasn't even on my radar until I saw it. It was like a book of the month pick, and I was like, okay, let's do it. Let's go, Margot. I'm into this. So I will be the judge of whether or not this is actually laugh out loud funny, but it has a lot of things that are kind of zany and fun. So yes, excited for this one. Coming back with the romantasy, again, I have A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle Jensen. And this is another one, Book of the Month Club. It wasn't on my radar at all, but I'm like, okay, this seems kind of cool. I mean, first of all, this cover. Oh my God, this cover is gorgeous. And it's definitely like Nordic mythology. Again, let's just do the highlighted part here, okay? So, a shield maiden blessed by the gods battles to unite a nation under a power-hungry king while fighting her growing desire for his fiery son in this Norse-inspired fantasy romance. I do like Viking stuff. I know this isn't Vikings, this is more like mythology-based, but I love that stuff so much. So this seems really cool. The cover, gorgeous. Romantasy, but I think this is skewing more fantasy with romance on top, rather than romance with fantasy thrown on top. I think that's the big difference here. Like when it's mainly a fantasy with a romance, I get into it. When it's a romance that they just threw a fantasy on top of, I'm less into it. I think that's the key. This book literally came out this week and I pre-ordered the hell out of it. I was so excited. So this is The Darkness Within Us by Trisha Levenseller. And also, I just want to point out, look at these sprayed edges. Aren't they gorgeous? Like it has like kind of fans and like swirly, flowery kind of stuff. Pretty, pretty, pretty. What does the naked book even look like? Does it have foil? It does! Oh my gosh, look at it! Ah, it's so pretty. It's like a big writing quill. Has like the foil here, sprayed it. This is fancy. Oh, and there's a map. Okay, production value at the very least. Huge yes for me. So this one is a sequel to The Shadows Between Us, which I love. It is so good. It is basically evil king and queen origin story, but you root for them, even though they are so evil. So interesting main characters, lots of like stabbiness, and honestly, I can't remember the characters' names from the first book. I know I loved it, and I remember everything that happened in it. I just don't know their names. So I think this character, I don't know, she feels very similar to the heroine in the first one, but might be her sister. I think it's either her sister or her daughter, likely sister. And it's her journey of scheming and stabbing her way into power. By hiding her intelligence and ambition behind the mask of a beautiful airheaded girl, she's become a wealthy duchess. And then her elderly husband that she married to become a duchess, he dies. However, this guy shows up, right? And he's like, oh yeah, your husband, yeah, he was my grandpa and I'm his grandson. So like now I inherit everything and you don't get anything. And she's like, the hell you will. Stab, stab, stab. It's either going to get just stabby or it's going to be stab, 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 kiss, kiss, kiss. And I'm like into that. I don't know what this says about me as a human, but like, yes, I love the first book so much that I knew a sequel was coming out and I was like, yes, give it to me now. And I also kind of got this graphic novel adaptation of Cycle of the Werewolf by Stephen King. And I got it at a thrift store. I just was like, let's look at the books in the thrift store, whatever. And I found it. I was like, okay, this is cool. And they have like art in it all over the place. Like this is, I think it's a werewolf flying a kite, which I'm like, oh, tell me more about that. That seems interesting. Ooh, sometimes the art gets gory. I just found a gory one. So yeah, I don't really even know what it's about. I just saw Werewolf and Stephen King and I said, yes. All right, moving on to all of the books I have bought and have already read. A big section of them. I will not be reviewing them in this video. That will be a separate video because I have more books to review along with them, but I still wanted to haul them because why not? First up, I have A Crown of Ivy and Glass by Claire Legrand, and Claire Legrand was at the LA Times Festival of Books. Got it signed, and it's another like romantasy story. And I'll just say here, because I'm not going to do a full review, that this book in particular is a romance that they threw a fantasy on top of. So you might be able to extrapolate how I felt about this book. But yeah, I can't even really tell you what it's about, honestly. Our main character is Gemma. In this world, like her whole family has magic because it was like a gift from the gods a long time ago, and it's like goes down through their lineage. She's the first one born without magic. And she's like, I'm sensitive to magic. She's like awful to read from her perspective. So yeah, there's like a feud between families. Something evil, like demony, is attacking the town. They gotta stop it, and she has no magic. So it's one of those things. But yeah, the cover is pretty, and there's other books in this series. So it's definitely a romantasy. I also got a copy of Starter Villain by John Scalzi. I love John Scalzi. Whatever he puts out, I'm going to buy, and I'm definitely going to enjoy. Brief synopsis here. It's about this guy named Charlie. He was a journalist. He's kind of down on his luck. He can't get a journalism job. He's like substitute teaching. He's broke. And he has an estranged uncle on his mother's side. And uncle dies, and then someone shows up at his door saying, hey, you just inherited his supervillain business. And then zany things happen from there. There's a lot of evil bad guys he has to like kind of defeat with cleverness. Very fun. It's definitely good if you like supervillains, you like sarcasm, it's the one for you. I also got this copy of Home is Where the Bodies Are, and it's kind of this cool edition where the book comes out of the sleeve and it looks like an old VHS. So that's kind of fun just from a art perspective. And this is by Geneva Rose. Now, I love Geneva Rose. I follow her on TikTok. She's great. So I loved her as a human, and I hadn't read any of her books. So I was like, okay, I gotta read something at this point. It's getting weird that I haven't. And then she came to LA and I got to meet her. So this is actually signed. Very excited about it. It is a thriller. These adult children come back to their childhood home. Their mother just passed away. And they're going through like old family movies and stuff, and they find this tape. And in it, they see their father run up to their mother. He's covered in blood, and he's like, you need to help me hide a body. And then the mother has to go hide the body with him, and then the tape ends. And they're all like, wait, what now? What is going on? So they have to kind of solve an old murder mystery and find out who their parents actually are. So definitely a twisty, turny thriller. I also picked up The Ministry of Time by Kayleen Bradley. And this is about, there's this woman, I forget her name already. Honestly, the blurb doesn't even say her name either, so it's not just me. But it's about this woman, she's kind of, a civil servant, and they have this new program where they bring people from the past into the present, like time travel kind of, but they just kind of pull them out of history. And they need someone to babysit them, and she gets like this lieutenant colonel guy who from, I think, the Napoleonic era, and she has to like babysit them, and then there's like a bit of a romance develops. There's probably evil corporate machinations and stuff. So yes, Ministry of Time, definitely a very cool concept for a story. I don't remember if I hauled this one or not, but I'm doing it now. So I have House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J. Maas. I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory at this point what it's about. It's Sarah J. Maas. Like, she's huge on BookTube and Book Talk and all of the book things. This is the big finale to the Crescent City series. It is ginormous. This is oh my gosh, that was loud. The chonky book. It's well over 800 pages. I believe Crescent City was supposed to be a longer series originally. I think this was basically combining books 3 and 4 into one mega book rather than having 2 books. So, yeah, I don't know how I necessarily feel about that aspect of it, but it's the big finale. We have a lot of open-ended things going on. Since it's like a finale book, I'm not going to get too much into plot here because, like, spoilers. But, yeah, we have Bryce Quinlan, Hunt Athalar, fighting to be in love with each other. And also, you know, the evil Asteri, they gotta fight them and take them down and stuff. And they get help from very unlikely places. I'll say that. But yeah, it's a big mega book conclusion to the series. I also got The Familiar, Leigh Bardugo's latest book. This one, I believe, is a standalone fantasy romance. And it takes place kind of in the Spanish Inquisition era. Our main character happens to be Jewish. You know, during the Spanish Inquisition, that was not an easy thing to be, so she has to hide that aspect of herself. And also, she has the ability to do magic. And for some reason in this world, like, people who can do magic, they don't immediately just call them witches. So there's like definitely some deviation from the actual Spanish Inquisition to this book. But yeah, some people have the magical ability to create little miracles, they call them. And our main character in this book has a lot of miracles she can do. She's very magically able. So it's kind of her trying to, you know, not get killed by the government, essentially. But yeah, Spanish Inquisition, magic, romance, possible demons and stuff. There's a lot going on in this one. So if you like Leigh Bardugo, you might also like this one. Next up, I have How to End a Love Story by Yulin Kong. And I got to meet this author at the LA Times Festival of Books. This is her debut. So she's actually a really like adorable person. I liked her very much. But basically it's these two people, right? There's Helen and Grant. And they both suffered from a tragedy in both their past, and that's how they're connected to each other. And now they're both in LA. I think they're adapting her book into a movie. And then Grant gets there to be one of the writers on the movie. And lots of tension. This tragedy in their past didn't bond them to each other. It actually, you know, she hates him. So, you know, not the best foundation for a romantic comedy. But here we are. So definitely there's some shit they gotta overcome. And it's like Hollywood related. I believe Yulin Kong is also a screenwriter, so writing from experience here. And yeah, that's basically it. Two people, horrible past incident that combined them, and then now they're in the future together and they have to like find a way forward. Next up, I have The Prisoner's Throne by Holly Black. This is the little second book in this Elfhame spin-off series. I don't know if this one actually has its own title of the series, but whatever. This is the conclusion. It's a little duology. We're following Prince Oak this time from the original Cruel Prince series. This is his big conclusion. There's a lot of stuff going on here. Again, it's a conclusion book. I don't want to get too much into plot because spoilers, but he has a lot of machinations running. And it's time for all of them to kind of come to term. And he's like, I gotta figure some things out. And also, he really likes this girl who may or may not actually hate him now. So he's gotta fix that too. Again, this is a fantasy with a romance sprinkled on top. So, yeah, I mean, if you like Holly Black, you like the Elfhame series, it's giving you more of that. You see a lot of her old favorite characters like Jude and stuff is in here. So it's just good fun. If you like fairies, there you go. I also got Murder Road by Simone St. James. Okay, Simone St. James is an auto-buy author for me. Everything she puts out, I'm going to pre-order immediately. I happen to get this one from Book of the Month, but in general, I'm pre-ordering the heck out of anything. So this one takes place in 1995, and we're following April and Eddie. They are a newlywed couple, and as they are taking a road trip to their honeymoon destination, they see an injured girl on the side of the road, and they stop to pick her up. And then they realize, oh, like, you're super injured. Let's haul ass to the hospital. They get there. The girl dies, and guess what? Oh, you're the last two people to be seen with a bleeding stab wound victim. You're suspects 1 and 2. So they're like, oh no, we gotta prove her innocence. And also, since it's Simone St. James, you know it's gonna be a ghost story because her books always have ghosts. So it's like ghosts, murder mystery, newlywed couple with secrets. Very much all in my yes column already. I mean, it's Simone St. James. I already pre-ordered this. So yeah, that's basic premise here. It's very interesting. Yet another sequel I have here, Empire of the Damned by J. Kristoff. This is the sequel to Empire the Vampire. We're still following our curmudgeon swordsman Gabriel as he is fighting the vampire hordes back. We have Dior Lachance in it, a young girl who masquerades as a young boy for safety purposes. Like, it makes a lot of sense. Again, I don't want to get too much into plot because there's a lot of plot in these books. It's very long. Like, honestly, like, look how skinny this book is, okay? So this book is 718 pages and it's this skinny. And then this book is less than 100 pages bigger and it's like 3 times the size. Like, I don't know how they combined it all into such a small book, but it has a lot of pages in it. Like, and it's so skinny. It's deceptive how long it is. I think it's just thin pages, but there's also a lot of art in here, vampire mayhem, gore, big battles, romances and stuff. So yes, it's got a lot of stuff going on here, but again, sequel book. There's a world full of vampires and they're evil and Gabe has to go kill bad guys. Basic story. I also picked up The Resort by Sarah Oakes. This is a thriller. Now, I don't read a lot of thrillers. It's kind of out of my comfort zone, but I do occasionally read thrillers. So I saw this one and it seemed pretty interesting. So essentially there's like this little like island community. It's kind of full of expats and they're all running from something in their past. And then bodies start turning up on this island, which attracts the police because, you know, dead bodies. And all of these people have a lot of secrets to hide and they have to figure out, okay, 1, who killed these people? And 2, how do we get the cops to believe we didn't do it? So that's the kind of vibe here. Murder, mystery, thriller set in a tropical paradise. So all of those things were definitely very intriguing to me. All right, last book in this ginormous book haul, I have Leather and Lark by Brynne Weaver. This is the sequel to Butcher and Blackbird, which I actually adored. So I was like, yes, I'm going to pre-order book 2. I had pre-ordered it and then I saw it was on Book of the Month, so I got it from there. So in this one, we were following Lachlan and Lark. They are the best friend and brother of our main characters from the first book. Lots of serial killers in this family. And long story short, this is a serial killer romance, if that makes sense to you. They're both serial killers and they find romance with each other. So it's very dark, but it's not like dark in a way where you can't find gallows humor. Like, these books are hilarious. They're very smutty, like top-notch heavy smut in these books, and also like murder and mayhem and gallows humor, but like they're still strangely very likable characters and you root for them even though, you know, they murder like a lot of people. But like they're murdering bad guys, so gray area. But I do really like the series, but that's the general gist here. Oh boy. Oh, okay, so that was like an ass ton of books. Honestly, there was probably more I got that were new and I just forgot where they are. So I think this is a pretty good sampling of all of my book haul books since I have been taking a break on book content. So let me know in the comments down below, out of all of the books you have bought recently, which is the one that you are the most excited to read next? Let me know the top of your TBR in the comments down below. If you like this video, make sure you give it a like. If you want to see more videos, make sure you subscribe. And if you want cool exclusive content, including early access to videos and a book club, you can consider becoming a channel member or a patron. Links for that are in the description down below. And on that note, I'll see you guys soon. Goodbye.